Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. I am your host.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on.
Tommy. So with this video, I wanted to get it out a little bit earlier than right now, but I have just gotten kind of enthralled and pulled into Starfield. And at first, I wasn't like that. At first, I was like, this is a pretty solid game. And I was, bouncing back and forth between games. Going, from, I think I was playing some Wayfinder, back to Starfield. In between that, focusing on, doing some editing for some podcasts. Writing some music. And all of a sudden, I had decided after, I think, 10 hours of playing the game, Starfield, I said, you know what? I want to start over. I want to start over at this point because I think the main story is pretty decent, pretty solid. It's not anything to write home about, in my opinion, so far from what I've played. But it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I don't think I'm that far in the main story. I'm just going to start over. So I started a whole new game, and I started to approach it way differently. And it completely changed how I'm playing the game. And it completely changed my perspective on this game. And this is the only one that I'm really kind of sinking a lot of time into right now. Usually, with video games nowadays, especially going from multiplayer to single player games, I, like probably many of you, we get pulled back and forth from multiplayer, single player, from here and there. We just keep jumping from game to game to game. However, with Starfield, it got to a point where it's pulled me in, and now this is what I'm playing. This is my focus right now on what video game I'm playing. I'm thinking about it whenever I'm doing other things, because there's so much that it offers. And I just wrote a few things down here. This is not going to be a full detailed review. You want one of those, you can go somewhere else to get that, of course. This is just my experience and my perspective. So we're going to start off here with the gameplay. I have written down here that other games do it better. Of course, with it being a first-person, third-person-esque game where you can switch in between, it's going to be a little wonky. And with Bethesda games, they all are like this, from Skyrim or from the Elder Scrolls to Fallout to Starfield. Like they all have that mechanic because they all run up pretty much the same engine. So it's always been a little wanky, and I think that's why for Fallout, they implemented like the VAT system. It's just another way to, I guess, maybe approach combat, or be a little bit more creative, or stick to like a turn-based almost combat system with the VAT system. With this, they kind of got away from doing that to an extent. From what I've played, of course, I'm not that far in the main story, so this is coming from someone who's been sinking a lot of time into side quests, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But other games do the first-person and the third-person gameplay better. However, it's not terrible here, in my opinion. If it was so terrible, none of the other previous games that did this or had this type of gameplay would have succeeded, or wouldn't have had, cult followings who still play these games. And that's what this game is going to get, I think. I think it's going to really garner a cult following for a long time, and I think it's going to have support for a long time, like the other previous installments of Bethesda games. However, other games do it better. But if you're looking for strictly just gameplay, just play those games, because this is not just hinging playing a game on the gameplay. If you're that type of person who plays the video games, or gamers, I hate using the word gamers, but if you're that type of person, you're going to move on from this pretty quickly. But on to the next point I have written down here is story. Main and side quests. So the main storyline so far, from what I have played, it seems interesting enough. But what has pulled me into this game are some of the side quests that I've done. And I don't know if everyone's going to experience these type of side quests or these same side quests, but just the two that I have done, they could have, in my opinion, taken the concepts to both of these side quests, I think they could have built a whole main storyline behind both of these side quest stories, I should say. And I don't want to go into too much spoilers here for side quests, but there is a side quest where if you do something specific, you can get into the Crimson Fleet, which I'm sure a lot of people already know. It's like the pirate organization or faction, whatever you want to call it. There's a whole different storyline for that, and it feels like a main story. The other one, I had just so happened to jump to a star system, and I got an incoming call. Like I said, you guys may have gotten the same quest. I thought it was super intriguing, but I got a call for a farmer to come to the planet to help out, and it turns out that there's 3 families that are in this star system or this galaxy that have been in turmoil, but they all have to come together to fight spacers, which are like another faction that's taking over this galaxy. Excuse me. And it was just very interesting, the things that you had to do, in my opinion. And I think that just those 2 side quests alone, I think if you're a really good story writer, I think they could have took either one of those concepts and built a whole main storyline off of either one of them. That's how interesting they were. And that's when it kind of hit me like, okay, I'm not just going to get one of these. This is now 2 side quests that have pulled me in, and I'm actually interested in what's going to happen. And that's when it hit me like, oh, if there's 2 of these, there has to be more side quests. There has to be more stories out there in this universe that are this interesting. Even if I only got like, 1 more or 3 more or 10 more. This is where it's really pulled me in, is the side quest content. Like I said, the main storyline I'm not that far in, because the side quests, not only are they interesting, from what I've played, they're long. And they're not boring, in my opinion. Of course, this is just my opinion. You take it however you want. You just have to experience the game yourself if you're into it. But moving on from that, I have base building. It can be boring. Shipbuilding is solid, but also both of these can be very intimidating, and they can also be very boring. It's like playing a completely different game. Last night, I played a little bit of a side story of the Crimson Fleet, and then I decided, let me go. I haven't touched on base building yet. Let me go and just try to work this out, try to figure this out a little bit. I was base building and figuring it out for maybe 2 hours. I wasn't bored particularly because I was figuring it out, but I can see if someone who's going in like, I want to base build, I can see how they can become very bored. It can be very tedious, very repetitive, and it can be very boring because it's so detailed. And that's what I have written down here at the bottom, is every system that this game has implemented is very detailed. Base building, it's very detailed. The shipbuilding is very detailed. The dogfighting, the space battles, a lot of people don't like. They can be very detailed in how you're fighting. I didn't even know this until 2 days ago, that there's a targeting system that you can get in the skill tree by spending a skill point, I think, where it completely changes dogfighting for you. You can target someone's engines, take the engines out, and then board their ship instead of blowing it up and killing everyone and looting after. That's an option that I didn't even know was in the game until a couple days ago. So down here, like I said, every system pretty much that they've put and implemented into this game is very detailed. So I can see how someone can become very bored of one of these things. Fast travel, a lot of people are having issues with fast travel. And there's a big thing on the internet and on Twitter/X where you can't go from space and land on a planet like in No Man's Sky. But this game has never been touted to be that. It's just been space exploration. This game does not want to be Star Citizen. This game is not trying to be No Man's Sky. If you wanted that, then go play those games. This game has elements of that, but it's more story driven than anything. They're trying to immerse you and tell you a story. Whereas these other two games, that's where they lack tremendously. But so far, the two things that I have written down here that are negatives, or I should say 3 things. The crashing. My system isn't the best because I'm playing it on PC, and I played it on the Series S, but I'm playing it mainly on the PC. And it has crashed, I think, after 20 hours of playing, it crashed twice on me. Kind of annoying, but it could be a lot worse. That's number 1. Number 2 is the optimization of this game. The performance is not that great. It's kind of all over the place. I am lucky if I stay within 30 frames. And like I said, my system's, older. I still run a 1070, so I'm not even, reaching what's recommended for as far as GPUs go. But if it can run on a Series S, or, if it can run on a Series S, I should be able to run it on my PC. Because I'm still running it at 1080p. I'm not running 1440 or 4K, so I'm trying to get 60 frames at 1080p, and I have no problem with other games that are newer reaching that. Todd Howard came out and said that it is. You just maybe need to upgrade your system, which is a fair point. However, I don't necessarily think it solely hinges on upgrading your system, because there's plenty of builds that are out there and plenty of people that I've seen put out videos of comparisons with different types of hardware, and they're getting similar performances, especially if it's not 4090s or 4080s. And even with those high-end cards, there's times where it does struggle to keep consistent frames. I think because it had to be optimized down to play at least on the Series S, I think that's why the optimization's kind of all over the place when it comes to the PC port or the PC version of the game. But so there's that, and then the last thing that I think is a negative is the carry capacity and the cargo capacity in this game. It is so annoying trying to figure this out. And I know that if you've played the game, you're probably going to say, well, just put points in weightlifting and it'll help your carry capacity. I understand that. I've seen that already. It's just the fact that from jump, it's very limited. So you have to really pick and choose what you want to do in the game at that time. Because like I said earlier, each system is so detailed. So if I'm base building, I better clear out my inventory of everything else except maybe 1 or 2 weapons and some decent gear, just in case I run into like raiders or something on my, around the base that I'm trying to build, because resources are going to be super heavy. And I know there's certain equipment that you can put on that'll help reduce the weight of resources. I found a few things. It's just, if that's one system that you want to do, you have to cater towards, you have to really pick and choose what you want to do at that time. So if you decide I'm going to base build while I'm playing it right now, if you're live streaming it, you say, okay, I'm going to focus the first hour on base building, you have to be mindful of your inventory. I know with the cargo holds, you can upgrade them in the ship editing or ship building section. So yeah, it's just really intricate, these systems. I know other games have some way more detailed and intricate systems, but with this, there's a lot of things that they want to do that they're doing, that they've executed in this game, and it's really a time sink. And I'm sure you've seen that. There's a lot of hours that you got to put in to this game for it to really start to open up. But overall, so far, I'm having fun with this game. I might make some content on it, maybe some, playthroughs or whatnot. But as of right now, the game is positive for me. I'm enjoying it very much, and like I said, it's the main game that I'm focused on right now. Usually I bounce around from game to game, but this game has really sucked me in like no other Bethesda game has done before. And yeah, I'm having a good time with it. So if you like the video, let me know down below. Do all the things. Let me know what are some experiences that maybe you've had in the game. Maybe if you have some tips, you can leave them down below as well. But that's it for me. And as always, it's been your boy. It's been real, and I'm out. Later.
I'm at the